Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to the 9th update for the winter of 2016-2017. So we started the winter updates at the beginning of September, and every week since the start of September we've been doing a winter update. We've done 8 so far in terms of winter updates, also 2 long-range seasonal model updates, and this is the 9th update that we have done. Now, it's been scheduled that I would do 10 winter updates and 3 seasonal long-range model updates, and then get to winter forecast on the 1st of December. There's been a slight change to that schedule because I had a look at the calendar. I realised that I was stopping the winter updates just a little bit too early. The last winter update is going to be the 10th update, which is a week today. So it's actually going to be 11 winter updates, and I'm going to do the final one, the 11th and final one, the same weekend as I do the seasonal model update. So going to be a Thursday as well as this. The weekend of the 26th and 27th of November is going to have 2 updates. On the 26th of November, which is the Saturday, we will do the seasonal model update. So that'll be sharing the day with the weekend forecast, the 3rd and final seasonal model update. I'm going to try and get weekend forecast that Saturday done early, so I'll be releasing it early in the morning, and then I'm going to do the seasonal model update, release that later on the Saturday. And then on the Sunday, which is the 27th of November, just checking I've got the dates right for all of this. On the Sunday, the 27th of November, there will be a final winter update. That'll be the 11th one, an unscheduled one, but the 11th and final winter update will be on Sunday, 27th of November. Hope it's not all too much for you. Hope having 2 big updates over the weekend spread like that is okay. But I just thought we should stop in winter updates a bit too early. Now, we need to get some November analogues to add to the October and September analogues that we've already been looking at so far this season. So that's why I decided to extend the winter updates for 1 extra and final Sunday. So it's not 10 winter updates now, it's 11. The last one will be on Sunday, 27th of November, with the 3rd and final seasonal model roundup being the day before. First time ever we've done this. Saturday, the 26th of November, will be the 3rd and final seasonal model roundup. And then, of course, it's all building up to that winter forecast that we're going to release on the 1st of December. So each one of these updates and each one of these seasonal model updates all eventually adds to the storyline that builds up to the winter forecast, and winter forecast is getting very close now, so that'll be on the 1st of December, which I think is a Thursday. Right, so all that explained, I hope it made sense. I'll get on with the 9th update for you in a moment. Before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all the pages. If you have a browser through widgets and click through the links, you'll be helping us to pay for the website. Thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads on most of the pages which open up content. When you watch them, they close back up again. It does help to pay for GazWeatherThis.com. Christmas shop is open, so you've got any Christmas shop to do at Amazon between now and Christmas. Just click the green button that says Christmas shop. It takes you to our Christmas shop, and then from there you'll be greeted by some snowflakes, and you'll also get a Merry Christmas from GazWeatherThis. From there, you just click through the Amazon banners, go to Amazon where you do your Christmas shopping as normal. Because you've gone from GazWeatherThis to Amazon, we get a revenue thing on the things that you purchase. So big thank you to everybody for doing that. What else was I going to say? Oh, a big day at GazWeatherThis today. So you're probably watching this right now on the homepage. Later on today, the 9th winter update will be placed onto winter updates page, and there'll be extensive written report that goes with that as well. So you can't watch the video all in one go. Don't you can watch it on demand whenever you want it or whenever you need it. Also today, later on, around 2 o'clock this afternoon, there'll be the seasonal model interpretation from the long-range ECMWF model. So, be interpreting that model this afternoon, 2 p.m. on the ECM interpretations page. And if all that wasn't enough, today we also have some more winter 2016-2017 thoughts from our good friend Terry Scully. That'll be coming up on Terry's page around 5 o'clock this afternoon. So loads going on. Do keep checking back to the website for more detail and more updates. Right, I've gone on for too long, but I get on with the 9th update. I've got loads to cram in once again. I just want to pick up for this 9th update where we left off. We didn't leave off, but where we started the 8th update. So the 8th update started looking at analogues for October. We know have this unusual blocking pattern in October with a lot of Scandinavian high pressure. So this was the kind of thing we was looking at in October, ridging around Scandinavia in terms of the analogues we was interested in. So the actual analogue for October 2016 in terms of the mean sea level pressure anomaly looks like this. Had lots of blocking across Scandinavia and extending back into West Russia as well. Was a very easterly, very blocked easterly month. So we had a look at years that had extensive Scandinavian blocking over the October preceding the winters, if you like, and then we had a look at what the winters that follow tended to be like, and it's quite an interesting update actually. The chance of a cold winter was fairly small. There was a chance of a cold winter, about a 1 in 5 chance, something like that, of a cold winter. This is the total winter CTs. By the way, we have 42 years here that have this sort of extensive blocking over Scandinavia in October, so there's quite a few to go at. But this is the winter column just here in terms of our analogue and winter and monthly CET. So we've got the December CETs just here, the January CETs just here, and the February CETs just there in that column, and then this is the winter column just here. So you see there aren't that many really cold winters in the winter CET column. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 that were around half a degree or more colder than average, and 5 that were sort of 1 degree colder than average. So not all that many, more if you add the winters that were just slightly colder than average. But overall, it's not a desperately cold winter signal. However, if we come to the monthly column, we see there are quite a few really cold months showing up in all 3 columns. So whilst the chance of a cold winter isn't that great when you have lots of blocking over Scandinavia in October, you do appear to have a much greater chance of at least 1 month being significantly colder than average. Now, those months deviate by the year, so in some years it's December, in some years it's January, in some years February. If you want to know more about this, do check out the 8th updates. I haven't really got time to go through all of the things that we discussed last week, but it's in the 8th update, so do check that out. Just scroll down the winter updates page, you'll be able to find it there. But I said, but we'd have another quick look at these years and see if we can determine which month of the 3, December, January, February, is likely to be the coldest month. I've gone through all of the monthly CETs here from the 42 years that have extensive blocking over Scandinavia in October. And it's hard really to pick out a year actually. For December, we've got 14 months in December out of the 42 that come out with a temperature anomaly of around half a degree or more colder than average. So we've got 1874, which has anomaly, very cold anomaly, over 4 degrees colder than average. Then 1886, which is that just there. And then we go down to 1906, and then we go down to 1937, 1940, 1943, 1944, and 1950. Quite a run there through the 30s, 40s, into 1950 of cold Decembers. 1961, 1976, and then we come down to our last one, which is 2000, which is 1996, that year just there. I think that is our last year of the 42. So 14 Decembers come out sort of half a degree or more colder than average, and in January it's 15. So not a great difference. In January we get 1863, 1866, 1886, 1891, 1907, 1918, 1940, 1944, 1951, I think that one is, and then down to 1976, I think, 1979, 1990, very interesting, I thought that was very mild. January, and then further on into 1996 and 2000, all of those years coming out with CETs at a 0.1 of a degree or 0.5 of a degree, half a degree colder than average. And then finally, February has 16 months that are coming out over half a degree colder than average, and we see them again just here. If we run through the list, there they are. There are a few more that are just ever so slightly colder than average, between 0.1 and 0.5 of a degree, but the months we're interested in are 0.5 degree or more colder than average. If we run through, there they all are. So there are 16 of those years that are coming out. Actually, that was in the winter column, wasn't it? So let's try that again. So here we go. It's this year. I did think that made sense, because there aren't enough blue boxes there. So it's this column just here. So we've got this year, 1863, 1874, and then coming further down to this year, this year, this year, this year, this year, and this year as well, that year, that year, that year, that year, that year, that year, and that year, and the last year is 1996. So looking at all of these years combined, it's very difficult actually to pick out a month that is likely to be the coldest month. We've got 14 of these months at a significant colder average in December, 15 in January, and 16 in February. So slightly favours February being the coldest month, but really there's nothing in it, and it looks like there's more or less an equal chance between the three winter months of getting a month that is half a degree or more colder than average. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out for this winter. I think it does probably favour at least 1 month of this of 3 winter months. 1 month this winter coming out significantly colder than average, but which one it is can be very difficult to decipher, certainly from the October blocking idea. But anyway, that's how that is all shaping up. And I thought you'd find it interesting to see just how close it is between those 3 winter months as to which one could be the coldest. Right, let's go on and have a look at the oceans, and we're going to start off by checking out last week's sea surface temperature anomalies. So this is how things were looking across the world from NOAA when we did last week's 8th winter update. So it's looking like this. We've got the weak La Nina, of course, that's very interesting in terms of the equatorial-Pacific Ocean. We've also got fairly cold North Atlantic sea surface temperature anomalies, and things cooling down a bit in the northern Pacific Ocean as well, compared to where they've been through the course of the autumn so far. Let's have a look at the very latest, and this is how it's looking. So if we go back to last week, well, the first thing to talk about is ENSO. Very little change there. Situation last week, we did the 8th update. This situation now we're doing the 9th update. Very little change. Perhaps a little bit of cooling has taken place again through this central portion of the equatorial Pacific, but we're still on the borderline between ENSO neutral to weak La Nina. Very difficult to say if we're going to sustain these very slightly weak La Nina conditions through into winter. I suspect we are at least to the first part of winter, and then we'll probably see a moderation closer to ENSO neutral as we go through into the second half of winter, because these things normally reach their strongest point at the end of the year around Christmas, and then they weaken. Now, in the Northern Pacific, things are continuing to cool down. This is getting quite interesting. Now, we may have to change our thoughts a little bit about the expected pattern for America. It might be, I know I've got some people watching in America, these winter updates. It might be that this cooling of the Northern Pacific, again, there it is from last week, this situation now, this is becoming rather intense, this cold pool up here. It could be that this is going to affect the winter of the United States and Canada. It might give northern eastern parts of the states, it might help to give northern eastern parts of the states a slightly milder winter than we've been anticipating. Now, things are still quite warm in this far northeastern corner of the Pacific Ocean, but they are cooling down, and this is a change on what has gone on in previous winters. Certainly back to, I think, 2013, we've tended to have very warm winters up here. Winter 2013, 2014, I mean. We tended to have very warm waters up here around the northeastern Pacific. So we haven't quite penetrated these cold sea surface temperature anomalies into the far northeastern corner of the Pacific Ocean, but it's getting closer, and these are intense anomalies now. As I've explained in the videos when I've been doing these winter updates, this is normally a very, very cold place up here. Normally you have a lot of cold water in this sort of area. Haven't had that for the last few years, so this is a bit of a change on what we've seen over the past 3 winters. In terms of the Atlantic, well, again, let's go back to last week. We had quite a deep, or a deepening cold pool in the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean last week. That has moderated a bit over the past week, actually. Now, we're not going to have a tripole, so what we look for in negative NAO, at least to start the winter, is a tripole of warm down here, and then cool just here, and then warm again up here. So, a three-way band of warm, cold, warm. We're not going to have that, quite obviously, to start the winter anyway. It could evolve in that sort of direction later on in winter, but certainly where we're going to start off isn't going to be with a tripole. However, it is warming again across the northern part of the Atlantic. This cold pool is shrinking quite a bit. And the Atlantic is certainly, I think, in a warmer state than it has been for any winter back to 2013, 2014. So we tend to have a warm Pacific Ocean, Northern Pacific Ocean, and a cold Atlantic Ocean over the past 3 winters. That situation has reversed a fair amount, or it looks like it's reversing a fair amount for this winter. And this might be quite good news if you're looking for a colder winter. I'll just show you the sea surface temperature anomalies from this time last year. You can see the difference. First of all, of course, we had that Super Nino, which, well, it really stopped the cold winter for much of Europe. Whatever else was going on, the key factor last winter was that Super Nino, that massive red, which is the warm sea surface temperature anomalies through the equatorial Pacific. But look how much warmer it was up here across the northern Pacific Ocean, especially in the northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean. And then look how much deeper and more extensive the cold pool was through the northern Atlantic Ocean, and the tropics weren't as warm as they are right now. So again, this is a situation right now. This is a situation from this time last year. Very big differences with the ocean, and this could be at least partly helping to explain why we've had such a blocked autumn pattern across much of Europe and effectively UK, of course, and now it's turned cold across many parts of Europe and Eurasia as well. And it might be that the oceans, we said this when we did the NAO forecast at the start of July, we said that the Atlantic is in a more neutral state. It's not as well set up for positive NAOs, so it's not as well set up for westerlies, southwesterlies, and so other factors could become important. And I think we're still seeing that being borne out. And the Pacific also is moving in a direction that I believe is slightly more conducive towards colder winter. So big changes from last year to this year. And actually next week for the 10th update, I'm going to look further back. I'm going to see if I can find a year back through the archives of NOAA, and we can go right way back to, I think, around 1984 with these charts. I'm going to see if I can find a year that matches this year in terms of the Atlantic and Pacific setup. It may be quite difficult to do that, but that's what I'm going to try and do next week, so that'll be making up part of the 10th update. SOI, Southern Oscillation Index, not showing any real change, so when the SOI is positive, it's an index that's reflective of the state of the atmosphere in the Southern Ocean between Darwin and Tahiti. When the SOI is negative, it's telling you that the atmosphere is set up for El Nino, essentially. So when that was going on just there, we would have very, very negative SOI numbers. The atmosphere would have been very, very much reflective of El Nino, of course. When the SOI is positive, that tells you that the atmosphere is reflecting La Nina. Now, what's been going on this year is that at times we have had some quite positive SOI numbers. For example, on the 2nd and 3rd of November, there we are, we're at plus 18 and plus 13, so really positive SOI numbers then. But equally, we've also been getting negative numbers. So if we come down to the 10th and the 11th of November, we're at -4 and -7. So still this is going on, that the atmosphere and the oceans are not connecting with one another. If we was really going into a proper La Nina event, you would have day after day, week after week by now, of these sort of numbers, plus 18, plus 13. So yes, the 2nd and 3rd of November were reflective of a La Nina setup in the Southern Ocean, that's fine. But of course the 10th and the 11th of November, much more reflective of El Nino type conditions in terms of the atmospheric setup. And while this is going on, while we're trading numbers like this, it just means that the La Nina can't get going, if you like. And it would be the same on with El Nino. If we were trading numbers like this when we were trying to go into an El Nino, it would also stop that El Nino event from taking place. You have to hook up the atmosphere and the ocean, so we haven't done it this year, which is the reason the ocean wanted to produce a La Nina event, but it didn't. It just was stuck around ENSO neutral to borderline La Nina condition. I don't see that changing through to the end of the year. We explained in the earlier winter updates that weak La Nina is probably the most conducive state to get colder for an average winter in the UK and Europe. But it's very different with ENSO neutral. So the fact we're on the borderline between ENSO neutral to borderline weak La Nina does make it very, very difficult for me. Let's have a look at the hurricane season next. No change on the numbers over the past few weeks. So it looks like the hurricane season is winding down now. We've had 15 total depressions, 14 storms, 6 hurricanes and 3 major category 3 or above hurricanes. That's the same numbers as we saw in the last update and the updates before that. It looks like hurricane season is about over, but you never tell. We might get another hurricane or two before the end of November, especially as the tropical Atlantic is a little bit warmer. It's been in recent years. In any case, we know that we've had the strongest Atlantic storm hurricane season since 2012. We haven't beaten 2012. We've fallen quite a way short of 2012, but in terms of this hurricane season, been the biggest since 2012. And that plays in a little bit to the chance of a more blocked type winter pattern as well. Have a look at the QBO, a latest update from the University of Berlin website. So I'm going to talk about this probably next week, or it might be in that final update, but we're going to do the 11th and final one that we're going to do in a couple of weeks. I've got an interesting chart from our good friend Stuart at chorleyweather.com, Stuart Markham, and I'll be talking about that either next week or the week after, sort of going back further than these charts. Generally, you go back to 1950s with the QBO, but through some very interesting reanalysis, we can go back further than that if we use a chart back to Stuart to show me from Chorley Weather. So I'm going to explain more about that in the coming update, either next week or the week after that, but we're definitely going to show you that information. Anyway, we should be in the easterly QBO, which is indicated on these charts by these white areas just here. There we go. They are all easterly QBO years and winters. So when the QBO is easterly, the zonal westerlies are weakened. When the QBO is westerly, the zonal westerlies are enhanced. So at its very crudest, and it doesn't always work out, there are a lot of caveats to place in, but at its crudest, the westerly QBO enhances your chance of a mild winter, and easterly QBO enhances your chance of a cold winter. There are many years that do deviate from that idea. So this is the very latest from the University of Berlin. This is updated now to October, and as we know, we explained it in the first winter update we did right way back at the start of September, and we've talked about it ever since. We are in completely uncharted territory with the QBO, because instead of doing this with the quasi-biennial oscillation going into that easterly phase of the QBO, we are doing this. So are we in an easterly QBO? That's the easterly QBO just there. Or are we in fact still in a westerly QBO, which is indicated by the darker area? We should be easterly, we know that, we should be doing that, but it looks like we're still westerly, and the UK Met Office expects us to stay westerly as well. So this is a very, very long westerly QBO. It started back in the middle of 2015, we're going up towards 2017 now, and we're still in it. It's a very, very long QBO indeed. There is no other years that have done this. No other years, certainly back 1950s, show anything like this. It's unknown. It's uncharted. I'm not sure what the reason for it is. It could be down to the Super Nino that we had at the beginning of the year. That's around when we should have gone into the easterly QBO, around the start of this year. We didn't. It failed, but westerly QBO hung on, and we're still in that westerly QBO now. For whatever reason that is, it's very difficult to say. But anyway, that's where we are. We're in a westerly QBO still, and the UK Met Office thinks we're still going to be in that westerly QBO through into winter. What it means for the winter is really impossible to say, because certainly back 1950, there are no other years that have done this. As I say, we're going to have a look at some information from Stuart at Chorley Weather to see whether we can find any years going further back than the 1950s that have done what we have done with the QBO this year. Solar activity next. This is the solar disk on our side of this today from the website solarham.net. Hardly any sunspots. There are a couple of very minor regions down here on the eastern limb of the solar disk on our side of the disk, but really it's virtually a spotless sun, and solar activity is designated as very low officially at solarham.net today. By the way, at Solarham they're doing a fundraising effort, so you can find the link to Solarham on the links page if you would like to donate a little bit of money, because it just keeps the website going. They don't run ads like we do at Gaz Web, so you have to pay for their website in other ways. If you would like to donate a little bit of money to solarham.net, please do that and help to fund their website. So this is the Gaz Weather's winter update daily solar tracker from our good friend James Ackrill. He's been monitoring solar activity right away since the start of September. The orange line is probably the most important line through this, because that is the sunspot numbers. So when we've got increasing sunspots, when we've got more sunspots, we have the orange circles and the line shoots up. When sunspot numbers are declining, then the orange circles move downwards, and so does the orange trend line. So this is around where we was last week when we did the 8th update. The 9th update shows that we've declined further. We actually had a spotless day again earlier in the week, then a little bit of a movement upwards. That's where we are right now, as we're up to date in terms of the total sunspot numbers. You'll notice that the trend line is moving downwards all the time. So this is where we was when we started the winter updates at the beginning of September with the trend line. This is where the trend line is now. Clearly, we are declining with the sunspot trend line. In fact, all the trend lines are moving down. This green line here, and also this rusty line up here. All the lines are generally moving downwards, are generally trending down. And the trend now is actually in this area back where we was towards June, when we had quite a sharp decline in solar activity and sunspot numbers. And then from June into July, August, September, it was upwards. But now we're going downwards once again. Be interesting to see over the next couple of updates, the final couple of updates, whether we continue to trend down. We are moving into solar minimum now. This is from NOAA, and it does put this solar cycle 24, into context compared to solar cycle 23, which is the last solar cycle. So that was the last solar cycle. This is the current solar cycle, and you can see that we are very, very clearly now trending down into solar minimum. This is the trend line, the forecast trend line. So solar minimum expected to occur around 2018, 2019. We are quite clearly moving down into that right now, and again from NOAA, this is where we are right now. We are on a par with where we was back in 2010, just there. Now 2010 is when we had a lot of cold weather. Of course, we had the severe winter of 09-10, and then that very severe December of 2010. The difference, of course, is that back in 2010, despite the fact that sunspot numbers now are on a par with 2010, back in 2010 we was moving out of solar minimum, which had been a very long and prolonged solar minimum, whereas the situation right now is that we are moving out of solar maximum. This was solar maximum just here. So the two situations aren't comparable, even though sunspot numbers are tallying up nicely. The big difference is that 2010 was a year that comes out of solar minimum, whereas 2016, 2017 is a winter that is moving out of solar maximum and heading into solar minimum. So the 2 years aren't comparable, but the sunspot numbers, total sunspot numbers, are back close to where they was in 2010. In terms of how things are going with solar cycle 24 and that old solar cycle number 12, which ran from 1878 through to 1890, this shows it up quite nicely. Again, we are still continuing to align these two solar cycles very, very nicely. The green trend line here is solar cycle 12, the old solar cycle. The red or orange line here is the current solar cycle number 24. So we rose out of the solar minimums of these two solar cycles, very similar. The solar maximums of these two solar cycles were very similar, and now we are trending down in towards solar minimum in a very very similar way with these two solar cycles. Now, I won't go into all the details about this, but this is the situation where we are right now in terms of solar cycle number 24. Just there, and you notice that at this point in solar cycle 12 there was a huge plunge, or around this point there was a huge plunge in activity, and the winters of these two solar cycles, and that what I was just saying, won't go into too much detail, but you have to watch the earlier updates. I think it probably is including update 1 or 2. It's in the earlier winter updates. But the storyline with this is that the winters of these two solar cycles tending to be running, aligning quite nicely with one another in terms of the winters that are either cold on average or mild on average. That was the case up to last winter, 2015, 2016, when we deviated. The corresponding winter in solar cycle 12, which was from the mid-1800s, the mid-1880s, that winter was cold on average, whereas last winter, 2015, 2016, was very, very mild winter. So the next winter, however, the one that we're going into now, its corresponding winter in that 1800s was a cold winter. So the idea is, will we realign these two solar cycles in terms of their winters and have a cold winter 2016, 2017? Certainly the sunspot numbers and solar activity are continuing to run very, very closely to one another. Been talking about this quite a bit. This is Arctic sea ice extent. what's happened is that we've had a very, very slow refreeze. This green dash line just here is from the death spiral year of 2012. That's when we lost a huge amount of Arctic sea ice. We didn't reach the death spiral when we got to our minimum ice extent for this year, for 2016. But we then, as we're getting to refreeze, which is just here, we stalled the refreeze. And now we still lag a little bit behind the death spiral year of 2012 in terms of the refreeze in the Arctic. And the reason is because it's been very, very mild across the Arctic Ocean. This is from climatereanalyzer.org, which is the University of Maine. My good friend Scott shared this at the in the comment box at Gasworthy's yesterday. Scott runs Failsworth Weather. And so this shows you how warm it is over the North Pole. Look at all these red colours. This is the forecast for the next 5 days across the North Pole. Exceptionally warm temperatures. That's around 20 degrees above average there across the North Pole. And notice also most of America and Canada also looking very mild as well. But conversely, on the reason is that there's lots of blocking up here and lots of high pressure up here. Conversely, however, on the cold side of the block, we have all of these severely cold temperatures and temperature anomalies through much of Siberia, and those cold average temperature anomalies also extending down into many parts of Europe as well. So it's always a balancing act with the atmosphere, where one place is warm, another place will be cold, and vice versa. It just so happens at the moment that Europe and Russia is on the cold side of the blocking, whereas the Arctic and North America and Canada is on the warmer side of the blocking. If that continues into winter, many parts of Europe will have a cold winter, but of course things might change, it might realign, and we might find ourselves on the warmer side of the blocking with, say, the Arctic and Canada and America going on the colder side of the blocking. Remains to be seen. But anyway, that's the reason that the Arctic sea ice refreeze has stolen, and the reason we are lagging behind 2012 in terms of the Arctic refreeze is because it's very warm over the North Pole in terms of those anomalies. And then finally, we're going to finish with Siberian snow cover. We've been going on for 35 minutes, so another very long video. Sorry about that. So, this was the situation in terms of Siberian snow cover. Last week, we covered the whole of Russia, extended it through virtually the whole of Scandinavia, and pushed it into Eastern Europe as well. And there was no year that had that much snow cover at that point, right way back to 1998, which is as far back as we can go at the National Ice Centre. Well, this is the latest. In fact, I'll just refresh, see if it has updated. So there we go. That's the latest from the National Sea Ice Centre and NOAA. And look at that. You can see again, most of Russia is still covered with snow. All of Scandinavia covered with snow. And most of good bit of eastern, northeast Europe also covered with snow, and extending into central parts of Europe as well to some degree. Excellent snow cover. Again, now that becomes a little bit less important. It's really October that this is the key point, how quickly we advance snow cover across October. But when you get into November, it's less important. But there we go, still doing excellently well across virtually the whole of Russia and Scandinavia and into Eastern Europe. Now, I had a look back through the archives of the NIC website, see if I could come up with a year that was closest to what we've done this year in terms of how quickly we spread the snow cover across Russia and into Europe at the end of October. The only year I can come up with that sort of matches this year is 2012. So I'll just give you a recap of what happened in October 2016. Here we go. So on the 10th of October, very little snow cover across eastern parts of Russia. By the 17th, by my birthday, we had extended that through virtually the whole of eastern Russia and stalled it through those central parts And that continues into the 23rd of October as well. Very little advancement westwards. But then we get into the final week, this is 26th of October, and we're beginning to see some snow appearing across northern parts of Russia, northwest parts of Russia, and also beginning to extend in towards Scandinavia. 29th sees a further growth, so now it's beginning to push in towards the border with Europe, and we go further on to the 31st, last day of October, and then an explosion of snow cover has taken place, with virtually the whole of Russia covered and pushing it into Eastern Europe as well. And that takes us up to the 3rd of November, when suddenly the whole of Scandinavia is covered, all of Russia is covered, and we're extending it into Eastern Europe. And then that brings us up towards where we are now. So let's have a look at 2012 and see how that panned out. So this again, 12th, this is the 10th of October, 2012, when most of the snow cover was across eastern parts of Russia at that point. Continues to the 17th. My birthday in 2012 looked like this, with again very little advancement into central western parts of Russia of that snow cover. 22nd of October 2012, again very little going on, still stuck there with the snow line somewhere across the central portion of Russia. 26th of October begins to push it westwards. Notice more snow turning up across Scandinavia, and we're certainly beginning to move that snow cover a little bit further westwards. And then suddenly the next day, 27th of October, look what happens. The snow cover massively expands across many northwestern parts of Russia. It pushes into a lot of Scandinavia, and it moves through a good portion of northeastern and eastern Europe as well. Big explosion right at the end of October, and that continues into the 28th of October, on to the 29th of October as well. Look how much of Europe has snow cover extending all the way in towards southern parts of Germany even. Most of Scandinavia covered, most of northern Europe covered, and then that continues to the last day of October. Very, very similar to what we've done this year. So out of all the years back to 1998, the only one really that matches what we've done in 2016 is October 2012. And that, of course, precedes our last cold winter across Europe and the UK, which was 2012-2013. That year was quite interesting because the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean were in a more neutral sort of state. We hadn't got a massive ENSO event going on, so nothing there to scupper the chances of blocking and a colder winter. And I think it allowed the snow cover situation across Russia, what happened at the end of October 2012, to be more important. And that's the kind of thing we've got going on this year. So it is interesting how 2012 is the closest match to what has happened this year, 2016, in terms of that snow cover at the end of October suddenly exploding and sweeping into many parts of northeastern Europe and Scandinavia as well. Right, and we've gone over 40 minutes, so I think better leave it there. This is probably, I think this is the longest winter update again, so been a lot to discuss. Hope you enjoyed it. We are getting towards the end of the winter updates now, just 2 more to do, along with that season 1 roundup, the last season 1 roundup that we are going to do on the final Saturday of November. Right, so come back later on this afternoon to have a look at our interpretation of the latest update from the ECWF seasonal model. That's very exclusive content to GazWeatherVids.com. The ECWF model is not widely available, at least seasonal model isn't widely available at all, so really exclusive stuff there. And then later on this afternoon, that'll be around 2 o'clock, around 5 o'clock, we'll have some more winter thoughts from Terry Scully on his page. You'll see what his latest thinking is for this winter. Right, at 42 minutes, I think I better sign out. So that's all for now, and thanks for watching. Come back for all the updates later on, and of course it's the 10th winter update next week. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.